Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana. I'm Reverend Larrye-Marie Heyl, the spiritual director here, and we are a group of radically inclusive spiritual renegades, healing hearts and creating community, each of us embracing conscious spiritual living. Today our topic is Perils of the Path, so stay with us to see what is unfolding as we continue this series on chop wood, carry water, and how we can do that while encountering obstacles along our journey. And don't worry, if you're just joining us, each week is independent, and all the previous ones are out on our website. Let's begin with prayer. We just pause for a moment and take a deep, nourishing breath. Connecting with that higher power, your guide, God, the divine, whatever it is that you call that higher being. That wisdom, that love, that intelligence, that power that lives within each of us as expressions of the divine. What I know to be the truth is that this conversation about perils of the path has something for each of us to learn this week, whether it be from the message itself, from the music, from a quote, or from some little phrase that was said that just reminds you of your true divinity and of all the power that lives within you. It might be a combination of all of those things. But what I know is that there is a power within each of us that is inseparable from who we are. A power that can overcome any obstacle that we face and provide us with a different perspective of life. That all of the obstacles and detours are just ways for our journey to be more deeply profound for us. So I am grateful. I'm grateful you decided to join us. I'm grateful that I am a part of this spiritual community that lifts my heart and touches me in so many wonderful ways throughout every day. And I'm grateful to know that the God without is the God within each of us, guiding us on our journey on this planet. So it's with that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the absolute truth that the divine already said yes, that all that the divine ever says is yes. So I know it's already done. I say amen, and we affirm it together, and so it is. So our opening song this week is quite wonderful in terms of the words, and it's called Here to Remind You. Sing along and embrace your magnificence.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you wake up to all the wonders that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. I'm here to remind myself of my magnificence, to help me wake up to all the wonders that I am. I long to show myself the joy I'm worthy of. I'm here to remind myself how much I'm truly loved. I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you wake up to all the wonders that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much truly love. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved.
So this is our time for celebration and healing. Our time in our service where we celebrate life and we pray for people who desire prayer. We begin with celebration, so I invite you to say aloud, so that the whole universe can hear it, any event in your life for which you're grateful and joyful this week. And now we turn to the healing portion of our service. We're a community steeped in healing. So we pause now to pray for anyone who's not feeling the joy of life that we perhaps were just feeling. They're not feeling maybe that they have things to celebrate. And I truly love this part of our service because it's so in alignment with who we are. So let's pray. God is all there is. God is that love and that peace and ease and grace and freedom and so much more. And as an individual expression of the divine, each of us have within us all of these qualities of spirit. They're available to us right here and right now. And what I know to be the truth is that there are people on this planet right now that aren't embracing those qualities. So we stop for a moment and we create a circle of love. And in this community, we place in that circle of love anyone that we recognize within ourselves or for someone else that might need prayer. So I'm going to pause, and I just invite you to say aloud the names of all of those people that you want to include in our circle of love. I know that God is right where each of us happens to be, right here and right now, moving in, through, and as each of us. And I know that the divine has heard every name that we spoke, either in our hearts or aloud. And what I'd like you to do now is pause again, and from your heart to all of theirs, just send out love, knowing that the divine knows exactly how to distribute it. And what I know to be the truth is that anything that needs to be released within each of these people is being released now, be it disease of the mind, of the body, of the soul. I know that anything that's seeking to come forth and be lifted up can be lifted up. And that this release and this lifting up is healing whatever's called to be healed. I know that each of these people is feeling more deeply their connection with the divine right now. I have evidence of that, and I know it to be the truth for everyone that we placed in our circle. So I'm so grateful to know that the God without is the God within me. The God without is the God within every person in our circle, every person in this community, and every person on this planet. And I'm grateful for that power of community prayer and what it means to the uplifting of the people on this planet. So it's from all that gratitude that I release this prayer into the law of mind, spirit, and action. Because I know that the divine, in all of its wisdom, has already called all of this good. Any heavy lifting that needs to be done to heal whatever needs to be healed, the divine is already taken care of. So I can just know it's already done, say amen, and together we can affirm it. And so it is. I invite you to join me for our community affirmation. My life's purpose is already within me, and I am committed to its unfoldment. I am here by divine appointment to join in a community that cares for one another, to be in a place that transforms people's lives, to remember the highest truth about myself, to learn spiritual tools for personal transformation, and thus to make the world a more joyful place. This is our time for meditation. So I just invite you to let go of anything from the past, to release anything from the future, and to just be in this moment right here and now. Remembering that we are each the face of God, all connected. And when we remember that we are all connected, we can face any obstacles with help of all of those people on the planet that we love and that love us. I invite you to truly embrace the words and to settle into this time to be with the divine.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
So take a deep, nourishing breath. And as you breathe in, allow yourself to breathe in love. Breathe in again, and on the out breath, let go of anything that appears to be other than love. Release any part of your life in which you are not thriving. And for the next few minutes, let go of the outside world and bring yourself into your heart. Now that you're resting in your heart, connect with the divine. Allow the divine to pour into you as you breathe. And with each breath, feel the divine light energizing you from the tip of your head all the way to your smallest toe. And now that you're wrapped in that divine light, bring to mind some obstacle that you might have been facing in your life, knowing that the obstacle cannot draw you away from the divine light in which you're bathing. Christian Larson, in The Pathway of Roses, wrote this: "It is the difficult things that we meet that enable us to bring into action the greater power that is within us. Difficulties, therefore, are the most valued of opportunities, and if taken advantage of as such, will always be met with joy." So as we move into the silence, I invite you to turn that obstacle over to the divine and listen to that infinitely wise and intelligent inner voice, the one we embraced last week, as to what might be yours to do to overcome it or to release it from your life. Stay in your heart, allowing your mind to take a rest, and just allow yourself to have a conversation with the divine about the joy that might result from you releasing the obstacle, from you knowing that in God's time you overcome it. Be willing to go wherever the divine light and love leads you in this meditation. As we begin to return from the silence, I invite you to anchor your conversation with the divine so you can return to it. Or write down what it was that your infinitely intelligent inner voice was telling you. Notice the one thing the divine really wants you to remember from this meditation. I invite you to know that Spirit is the source of all that is, your power, your supply, giving you everything you need, supporting you in seeing every obstacle or difficulty as a way to tap more deeply into the power from which you are inseparable. Allow the divine to continue to pour into you throughout the week and be a willing vessel to see obstacles as the most valued of opportunities in disguise.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. I am the face of God. I know you in my heart. You are a part of me. I am the face of God. I am the face of God. I know you in my heart. You are a part of me. I am the face of God. You are the face of God. I am the face of God.
Hello, I'm Nancy Wirtz, and today our reading is from page 287 in the afterward section of our series book, Rick Fields' Chop Wood, Carry Water. If I had my life to live over. You don't and won't, but since we're still living this life, Rick Fields offers us this poem, written by an 81-year-old woman in Louisville, Kentucky. Here is Nadine Stair's poem entitled, If I Had My Life to Live Over. I'd like to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax. I'd limber up. I would be sillier than I've been this trip. I would take fewer things seriously. I would take more chances. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would perhaps have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. You see, I'm one of those people who live sensibly and sanely, hour after hour, day after day. Oh, I had my moments, and if I had it to do over again, I'd have more of them. In fact, I'd try to make nothing else. Just moments, one after another, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. I've been one of those persons who never goes anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had it do over again, I'd travel lighter than I have. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way until later in the fall. I would go to more dances, would ride more merry-go-rounds, and would pick more daisies.
This song is perfect before the message because sometimes when we're facing obstacles, we have to learn to be brave. And the title of the song is If I Were Brave.
What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed with the wind always fill up my sail, how far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What if we're all meant to do what we secretly dream? What would you ask if you knew you could have anything? Like the mighty oak sleeps in the heart of the sea, are the miracles in you and me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? If I refuse to listen to the voice of fear, would the voice of courage whisper in my ear? If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today? I am brave. What would I do today? I am brave. What would I do today? I am brave. What would I
to thank the CSL music team for all the great music and Nancy Wirtz for reading today. This is our final week in our series of Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is a book by Rick Fields. Each week is independent, so the good news is that they're all out on our website. So if you missed one or want to watch one again, they're all available at CSL Southeast LA.org. And today we're talking about those side trips that we take on our spiritual journeys, some of the things that we might call perils of the path. I'm happy that you've joined us as we continue on this journey to enlightenment by looking at how we chop wood and carry water while recognizing that there are perils on the path. Perhaps it's time that we remember what the Dalai Lama tells us about balance. A balanced and skillful approach to life, taking care to avoid extremes, becomes a very important factor in conducting one's everyday existence. We'll talk more about that in a minute. For now, the question of the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to embrace the power within you, to set realistic expectations, and to see obstacles as stepping stones to a higher perspective? One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to embrace the power within you, to set realistic expectations, and to see obstacles as stepping stones to a higher perspective? Whenever we embark on a journey, and this one, Chop Wood, Carry Water, which was a spiritual one, we often encounter obstacles or detours along the way. It's how we handle the obstacles and detours that truly matters. Do we allow them to disturb the pleasure of our journey? Or do we see them as a way to see more of the countryside, so to speak, to enjoy what is out there that we might not have put on our places to visit list? In his chapter on Perils of the Path, Rick Fields discusses a number of obstacles related to spiritual journeys, some of them quite specific to certain types of spiritual practice like meditation or Kundalini, which refers to a specific type of meditation believed to awaken your potential for awareness. I'm going to invite you to read the chapter as it's quite interesting, and I want to expand on the perils of the path in today's world of 2022. The perils of the path to spiritual awareness are merely obstacles that we learn to face. Anything, material or immaterial, that impedes progress or achievement and that stands in the way of literal or figurative progress. For example, last week I talked about us learning to aim, placing our attention on an intention so that we can manifest it. One of the perils of aiming, as well as of spiritual prayer, is that we often expect manifestation results too quickly. So we give up on our prayers or we give up on aiming because we don't feel the result is forthcoming quickly enough. The most important thing for us to remember on this spiritual journey is we're human. That's almost a synonym for you're running the obstacle course of life on planet Earth. The good news is that obstacle courses typically have smooth areas and difficult ones, just like life. The real question is, what do we often choose to do when we face an obstacle of life? Often we set unrealistic expectations or we worry about the obstacles. Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones wrote this. In Zen, there is an old saying, the obstacle is the path. Know that a whole and happy life is not free of obstacles. Quite the contrary. A whole and happy life is riddled with obstacles. They simply become the stepping stones that help lift us to a new perspective. If the obstacle is the path, it seems important that we learn to deal well with obstacles in a positive way, to truly allow each obstacle to become a stepping stone and provide us with a higher perspective. I mentioned earlier that perils of the path can be those side trips or detours that we take on our spiritual journey. If we embrace the perils as opportunities to see things more clearly or to see things with a larger view, they can become those stepping stones to a new perspective and to deeper spiritual awareness. The Dalai Lama tells us how to do this. We have this marvelous gift of human intelligence and a capacity to develop determination and use it in positive ways. Any obstacle can become an opportunity to use that marvelous gift of intelligence and look beyond the obvious. Think outside the box. Become more aware of who you are and who you're meant to be on earth. Since I suspect that all of us would like to no longer be disturbed by obstacles, it seems it's time for us to embrace the power within us to overcome them. Christian Larson in Pathways of Roses warned us about making obstacles more impactful than they need be. Here's what he had to say. No obstacle should ever be called by that name or ever thought of as being an obstacle, for it is, in truth, something that will enable you to prove to yourself that the power that is within you is greater than anything in this world. When we no longer call obstacles obstacles or difficulties difficulties, we shall not be disturbed by obstacles or difficulties anymore. Now that's truly an interesting observation, isn't it? In this philosophy, we believe that there is a power within us from which we are inseparable. Yet, how often, when the going gets tough, do we dig deep within ourselves to tap into that power? How often do we ask for help from friends, from family, from our minister? How often do we pause and move from our head to our hearts, asking our hearts what steps we might take to move out of our current situation into something that's more empowering or more joyful? I venture to say it's not often enough. In What Religious Science Teaches, Ernest Holmes spoke of our philosophy and how to remove obstacles, reminding us that it is a science and it's built on laws of our mind. He writes of a definite technique for removing obstacles. This is done by making certain definite statements with the realization that they have power to remove any obstacle, to dissolve any false condition, and to reveal humankind's spiritual nature. I certainly know I want to reveal humankind's spiritual nature. So it seems I must learn to make definite statements about my ability to dissolve false conditions. I like to use affirmations, which truly are just affirmations turned into a question. I do that because while the mind might have objections to definitive statements, the mind wants to be able to answer questions. We are wired to be able to answer questions. For example, if the obstacle is money, rather than saying, God is my source, to which your head might say, yeah, but I have to pay these bills, how about saying, how is it I so easily and willingly know God is my source? Now, your mind is not going to object to that question, and what's going to happen is it opens the mind to see all the ways that God provides and all the ways that you truly are abundant. Try it. It's absolutely wonderful. And that's why I provide affirmations at the end of every service. One of the many perils of the path is setting unrealistic expectations of ourselves and others about how things should be. To overcome this, we learn to set realistic expectations and know that change takes time. When we set unrealistic expectations, we're actually setting ourselves up for hurt or for failure. If you think about it, most of the hurt that you have experienced in your life most likely came from expectations that didn't get met. To prove my point and test this theory, think of the last time you were truly hurt and ask yourself, what were you expecting to have happen? Did it actually happen? Probably not. Expectations not met. We expect things and depend upon how much energy or attachment we have to the outcome. If what we expect doesn't happen, we're disappointed, possibly even hurt deeply. If you watch a baby as they start to walk, you don't see them cry every time that they end up sitting on their bottoms. Their obstacle is learning to be stable on their legs. And they have no expectations that they're going to make it across the room. They're just experimenting with what might happen. Wouldn't life be fabulous if we could all have that life philosophy? I'm experimenting. I'm seeing what might happen with this obstacle. This is known in some circles as the scientific observer approach to life. You just watch and observe without expectations of the outcome. For Buddhists, this way of life is about non-attachment, releasing any attachment to an outcome, essentially not allowing one's own expectation to dictate one's happiness level. Now, that's much harder to do than it seems. Or maybe you know that it's harder to do. Trust me, it can be. If you go into any situation with expectations that something might happen, you can be highly disappointed when what you expected doesn't happen, or your theory about it didn't work out. When we expect our efforts should produce certain results within a certain time frame, we can become disappointed, and the obstacle can become more important in our life than it need be. When you embarked on this spiritual journey around chop wood, carry water, did you have expectations? If you've been watching for the last 11 weeks, if you expected certain things or made certain promises to yourself about your spiritual practices, perhaps you succeeded and perhaps not. What's important is that you're on the journey. You're taking steps towards better understanding of your relationship with the divine. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote this: "We already live in a perfect universe, but this needs to be seen before it can become part of our experience. The origin of every problem is ultimately to be found within us, and the answer to every problem will be discovered in spiritual realization." The origin of every problem is ultimately to be found within us, and the answer to every problem will be discovered in spiritual realization. I repeated that last part because it's very important. When we become the scientific observer when dealing with overcoming obstacles and knowing that the answer to every problem is discovered in spiritual realization, we avoid the perils of the path, and we get to see every obstacle just part of our life experience. I love what Viktor Frankl said about the meaning of life in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, because it so describes how we move through any perils of the path to our spiritual enlightenment. He said this: "For the meaning of life differs from man to man, from day to day, and from hour to hour. What matters, therefore, is not the meaning of life in general, but rather the specific meaning of a person's life at a given moment." Is that not brilliant? I know for me that what I need and what I'm seeking differs from day to day, and yes, sometimes even from hour to hour. And it's most certainly different from what my sister or my daughter or my friends might be seeking. We're each on our own spiritual journey. Even if we travel a road together with another, we see different landscapes along the way, depending upon what we happen to be focusing on. And we each have our own inner enemies with which we contend. So what might be an obstacle to me might seem easy to another person. And what I know is that the obstacles can really get under our skin. Further, whether we react as angry or anxious, the perils of our path change our level of calm. Is that true for you? I know it's true for me. And the truth is, we're all going to get angry from time to time. We're going to experience anxiety. We might even experience low self-esteem in some area. The trick is to do what the Dalai Lama says to do in life. Learn to look at the situation from a different perspective. In his words, the ability to shift perspectives can be very helpful. Then, practicing this, one can use certain experiences, certain tragedies, to develop a calmness of mind. Actually, obstacles are yet another gift for us to learn to deal with our own inner enemies, such as anger or anxiety. When our obstacles seem to be coming from someone else's behavior, we can get into the "how could they" attitude, taking things as a direct affront on us. I love what lessons 31 and 33 in the Course of Miracles reminds us. Lesson 31 says, "I am not a victim of the world I see." And when we're in that "how could you" mode, we're victims. And lesson 34 says, "I could see peace instead of this." The truth is, we get to choose what we see and how we see it. In the Four Agreements by Ruiz, we read that taking things personally can lead to all types of pain and suffering. So if your obstacle is about taking something personally or having someone hurt you after you were kind to them, get over it and see peace instead. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we can move into forgiveness and we can choose peace. When we allow someone else's behavior to get under our skin and create an inner enemy of anger or upset or hurt, we're failing to remember that we're in charge of our own emotions. We are moving into that victim mode. The inner enemies are taking over. When we know who we are and are steeped in who we are, no one can uproot our sense of our own well-being. I want to repeat that. When we know who we are and are steeped in who we are, no one can uproot our sense of our own well-being. I know that's easier said than done, trust me. The Dalai Lama also says, "It is exactly this willful intention to harm us that makes the enemy unique and gives us the precious opportunity to practice patience." Now, I admit I am not one to embrace an opportunity to practice patience. I think when the divine was handing out God qualities, I forgot to get in that line for patience for myself. Yet, what if, when obstacles arise from the acts of others, we make the conscious decision to embrace a different perspective and stay in our peace and calm, rather than embracing our inner enemies of anger, hurt, anxiety, or low self-esteem? And one final comment on that. Perils of the path might require changing our motivation. Obstacles can sometimes bring us to a halt. If we focus only on the obstacles, our life can seem dismal, and we might miss the rainbow beyond our view of the obstacle. The Dalai Lama tells us that life is about balance. A balanced and skillful approach to life, taking care to avoid extremes, becomes a very important factor in conducting one's everyday existence. When it comes to obstacles in our life, the balance becomes about moving forward while also dealing with whatever difficulties the obstacle might be presenting in our own life. Think about it for a bit. Sometimes we just need to change our motivation to an underlining one of compassion and kindness towards whomever created the difficulty. And sometimes we created our own difficulties, right? It's our own self. If we can let go of the anger or of the behavior which created the obstacle and be compassionate, forgiving, and kind, we change. The Dalai Lama said this: in discussing an approach to bringing about positive changes within oneself, learning is only the first step. There are other factors as well: conviction, determination, action, and effort. Learning helps us develop a conviction to change. And once we have a conviction that change is necessary, we can develop a determination to take action in ways that help us make an effort to change our reality, to look at it different. Lesson 79 in Course of Miracles said, "Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved." Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. In attempting to develop this new attitude of compassion, what if we truly learned today's lesson of balance in our lives, changing our motivation to one that helps us to see the joy in living each moment, rather than the obstacles that happen to be in front of us? What if we really learn to change our motivation around obstacles to one that they're lessons that teach us to be determined to take action in our lives and make the effort to be more compassionate under all circumstances? In our spiritual growth of letting our soul pilot us and knowing we tap into the infinite wisdom of the divine, it's also true that we need a balanced approach of spiritual practices. If all we do is pray, nothing's going to happen. We have to pray and move our feet. Have the determination to make it happen, and the foresight to know that a realistic expectation is that overcoming an obstacle might not happen overnight. Sometimes change takes time. If we let go of the anger and of the behavior of ourselves and others, and let go of feelings as though life is sometimes against us, we will learn to be more compassionate, forgiving, and kind, and will recognize that the divine is always for us. Life is for us. And the interesting part is when we start changing, the world takes notice. I invite you to take an attitude of non-attachment to outcomes, to live in a more content place where your actions are in alignment with where your soul is trying to guide you. May you approach each obstacle, each peril of the path with conviction, determination, effort, and action, knowing there is a lesson for you in each one that is leading you to a power within you greater than anything in the world, a power that can overcome any peril of your path. So in summary, decide how you want to handle those perils of the path to your spiritual enlightenment. Embrace the power that's within you, remembering that Zen saying, the obstacle is the path. And use your affirmations to help remind you to think positive. Set realistic expectations and be that scientific observer. If we think of life as an experience, just watch and observe, we can be on a journey and accept the detours. The origin of and the answer to each problem is right within us. So see obstacles as stepping stones to a higher perspective. Live life from hour to hour and avoid extremes. You can see peace instead of difficulties and obstacles. Engage conviction, determination, action, and effort. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it that I so easily and willingly make the choice today to embrace the power within me, to set realistic expectations, and to see obstacles as stepping stones to a higher perspective? And your challenge for the week is this: adopt an attitude of non-attachment to obstacles. See the obstacle as the path, and live in that more content place where your actions are in alignment with where your soul is trying to take you. Approach every peril of the path with conviction, determination, effort, and action, knowing there is a lesson for you in each one of those obstacles that's leading you to that power within you that's greater than anything in the world. So let us pray. We just take a deep, nourishing breath and we breathe in all that the divine is. The love, the joy, the peace, the ease, the grace, the calm, the power, the knowledge, the wisdom. And we accept that that power and that wisdom and that peace and that ease is absolutely who we are as an expression of the divine. And what I know is that this week, each of us, as we encounter obstacles or any side trip or detour that happens to be taken, that we are recognizing those detours as an opportunity to get a different viewpoint and to see things from a higher perspective. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for this opportunity to remember that the power within me is the answer to any obstacle that shows up. That there is wisdom and intelligence and love and compassion and forgiveness within me that can overcome any peril that shows up on my path. And I know that to be the truth of each person watching this service and each person on the planet. So I am grateful. I am grateful for every opportunity to be a part of your lives in some small way, to bring messages that I know are uplifting. And I release my words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing that God always says yes. The answer is always yes. All of this is already done. Each of us is on our own way, understanding how to overcome perils of the path. And so it is with that knowing that I just release these prayers, knowing they're already done. I say amen, and we affirm it together. And so it is. And once again, I want to just be grateful to the people that are providing us with income so that we can continue to provide these services. I'm grateful for all of the love and the donations that are coming in, for all of the help that I have, for the people that are providing service to this community in so many ways. So thank you very much, and enjoy our offertory song.
From the love of your spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me, multiplied abundantly. From the love of your spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me, multiplied abundantly. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
You can find all of the information for donating at our website at CSL Southeast LA.org. You can use the donate button there, or you can use Zella or Venmo at 225-287-8887. You can text your amount to 1-225-320-5100, or you can mail your donation to CSL Southeast Louisiana, care of Reverend Larrye-Marie Heyl, 445 Magnolia Wood Avenue, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70808. We thank you for your tithes and donations, and we appreciate the fact that you are giving gifts that are flowing out to everyone we touch. This song is such a great summary of today's message. Why would we want to live in doubt when we can live in faith and in the knowing that we have the answers to any questions right within us? Life is so much easier when we embrace all of who we are. The song is called Living in My Faith or Doubt.
I hear things I've never heard. And sometimes when I'm reaching for a greater understanding, the bottom seems to drop out of my world. And could it be I'm stronger than I've ever been before? Have I reached the bottom or the top? Am I looking from within or looking to me in this thing called eternity. Oh, could it be I'm stronger than I've ever been before? Have I reached the bottom or the top? Am I looking from within or looking from without? Am I living in my faith or doubt? Am I living in my faith or doubt?
Since Easter is in 3 weeks, we won't be starting a new series until after Easter. So the next couple weeks, we'll be preparing you for embracing the newness of our spiritual year, which begins at Easter. And next week, we are privileged to have Karen Drucker doing not only the music, but also the message. Her title is Something Amazingly Awesome is Going to Happen to Me Today. And here's what Karen says about the talk. One of my favorite authors, Pam Grout, has an exercise in her book, Think and Grow Rich, where she suggests that you start each day saying the phrase, something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. When I start to practice this affirmation, guess what? Amazing things started showing up in my life. So that's the question. How do you start your day? And what are you saying to yourself during the day? Is this voice loving or critical? Using music, stories, and practical tools, we will look at how we can make each day amazingly awesome. I hope you'll join us. It's absolutely going to be awesome. Thank you for joining us today. I invite you to like us on Facebook at Center for Spiritual Living, Southeast Louisiana. And please follow us on our YouTube channel at CSL SELA. And it's just about time to join in our community time, which is a live discussion that follows the service every Sunday at 11:45 a.m. You have a little bit of time to go get a cup of coffee or some tea, and then dial into our conference line. The number is 540-792-0192, and the participation code is 475220. We hope you'll join us. And so in closing, remember, Disney claims to be the happiest place on earth, but we at the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana absolutely know that we are the most joyful. So until we meet again, may you be wrapped in the arms of love and kindness. And may you remember to embrace the power within you, to set realistic expectations, and to see obstacles as stepping stones to a higher perspective. What I know is when we come from that place of higher knowing, fully listening to the divine voice within us, we feel very much alive.
Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive, alive forevermore. Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My spirit is alive forevermore. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My spirit is alive. Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive, alive forevermore. Alive. more.